Hey Ospreys, I'm Brandon Thigpen, here with your North Florida Minute. Baseball and softball saw some exciting action at home this weekend, and the basketball teams have only 4 games left before conference championships. In this week's recap, I've got all that and more. Let's take a look at last week's action. We start with women's golf on Monday, taking on JU in the Hughes Cup. The Ospreys fell behind in points early, losing most of the doubles points matches. UNF battled for a comeback in singles competition, but fell to JU 4-5 in the event. Now we turn to men's basketball on the road. The Ospreys faced Upstate Thursday night. With the score tied at half, UNF held no answer to stop Upstate's second half scoring run. The Ospreys eventually fell 63-80. But the second half scoring runs were on the Ospreys' side when they defeated Kennesaw State Saturday 67-51. UNF forced 16 turnovers and had 4 players with 10 points or more. Their overall record stands at 16-11 and 8-2 in conference play. The 16 wins ties a program best for wins in a season. Now we look to women's basketball. UNF hosted Upstate Thursday night, and despite a 20-point, 20-rebound double-double by Paulina Zavakite, the Ospreys fell 50-59. The losing streak continued to Saturday when UNF hosted Kennesaw State. The Ospreys couldn't close the gap in the second half when they were down after several scoring runs by the Owls. The final box score, 52-64. Their overall record falls to 10-15 and 1-9 in ASUN play. The softball team hosted their first tournament of the season this weekend, topping the University of Maine and James Madison in the first half of the weekend, but fell to Virginia Tech and Jacksonville State in the second half of the tournament. The baseball team also hosted this weekend, taking on VMI. UNF dropped its first and third games, but overcame the Keydets in the second game in a 16-11 victory, which included a 7-run 8th inning. Also at home last week, men's tennis hosted UCF in Furman. Despite chilly conditions Friday, the Ospreys shut out number 67 UCF 4-zip, taking a double and 3 singles. On Sunday, they triumphed over Furman 4-1, notching a double and 3 singles points. Rounding out your sports recap, we traveled to Gainesville, where men's golf battled 13 other schools in the SunTrust Gator Invite. Solid Day 2 performances by MJ McGuire and Joey Petronio in even par final rounds lifted UNF up a few spots to finish 7th overall. Here's a look at next week's action. Men's basketball stays at home this week. They host Lipscomb on Thursday night and Northern Kentucky on Saturday. Both games are set to tip off at 7 p.m. The Ospreys have 4 conference games left in the season before the Atlantic Sun Championships in March and look to keep pace in ASUN standings and lock up a first-round home game. Women's basketball hits the road this week. Thursday, they'll be in Nashville, taking on Lipscomb at 7:30. Then on Saturday, they face Northern Kentucky. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. The Ospreys are hungry for a win after a 6-game losing streak, sitting at the bottom of ASUN standings, with just 4 games left until conference championships. Now we turn to softball. This weekend, they travel to Boca Raton for the Florida Atlantic Invitational. Friday, they'll face Albany and Florida A&M again. Saturday, Princeton and host Florida Atlantic. Finally, Sunday morning, they'll face Princeton one more time. Baseball also finishes up at home this week, hosting the Citadel on Tuesday at 5. But this weekend, they hit the road for the Diamond Invitational in Pensacola. On Friday, the Ospreys face Nicholls State and Southern Mississippi. On Saturday, they face Troy before finishing the weekend with St. Louis on Sunday. Also at home for one game this week, women's tennis hosts Central Florida Wednesday at 2 p.m. Then they hit the road, taking on the Gamecocks of South Carolina on Saturday at 4:30. I'm Brandon Thigpen for North Florida Sports Zone.